This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview.
Joining us today is Sean Wade, the CEO of Power Metal Resources, following news regarding Power Arabia Ltd. Well, thank you very much for joining us today. Sean, how are things?
Good, Mark. Thanks very much. Thanks very much for having me.
Well, of course, it's nice to catch up. Of course, things are moving again here on the Saudi Arabia front. You've signed an MOU with the Ministry of Investment for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So what does that mean? What does it open up?
So this was something we signed back in January in the Future Minerals Forum. So I just wanted to put that into the announcement so that people had a context, really. What the MOU talks about really is what MISA's objectives are in the region. So as the Ministry of Investment, they're looking for, in the context of mining, companies like us to come into Saudi Arabia and invest our expertise and ultimately capital into strategic mineral exploration in the kingdom. And obviously that's very much what we are intending to do. And they offer us support in respect to putting us in touch with potential partners and other obvious needs that we may have. So it's a very important partnership. It also helps build our credibility with potential partners, and obviously we're very happy to have that. So it is an important part of the process. It's really the sort of the context for what we've announced today.
Okay, good. Well, as part of the RNS, it states that Power Arabia is currently undergoing a pre-IPO, and the RNS does indeed state conversations are progressing with investors, both from the Gulf and internationally, who have indicated significant interest in a regionally focused investment vehicle. So can I ask you, how is this going? What's the interest like? Do you have any cornerstone investors? Give us a sense of the appetite.
Okay, so just to sort of give the kind of high-level picture, first of all, where we've got to is, and this is over the course of a few trips, so this is just last week, in fact, but also Future Minerals Forum before that. And what we've been seeking in the region is two things. One is exploration opportunities where we can partner as a joint venture partner with existing license holders, and also separately to apply for exploration licenses in our own right. Now, the second part will take a little bit longer. There's obviously a process you have to go through. However, partnering with existing license holders is something that we can achieve relatively quickly, and we've been in detailed discussions with a number of partners. There's quite a long list of people that we are in active touch with, and there are several of those which I would say are very close to execution. In other words, where we are currently finalising the MOU, which will bind both sides into working towards a joint venture arrangement. And we'll obviously be able to talk about the detail on those, when those are announced. But these are very meaningful exploration opportunities. So that's number one. Number two, obviously, is to fund all this activity. And as everybody knows, exploration mining is expensive, and there's a lot required there. Now, there are two ways of doing that. One is to obviously seek that financing through our existing capital structure, i.e. Power Metal PLC, or to go at the subsidiary level, as we have done in the case of Golden Metal, FDR, UEE, and in our subsidiary businesses, where those companies in their own right will raise their own capital, have their own management structure and board, etc., and will, in a sense, stand on their own 2 feet and fund their own activity. Now, what that will mean is that Power shareholders would obviously give up some of the equity in those businesses, but at the same time, obviously not have to meet the capital requirements. So, to put it quite simple terms, I'm reducing your holding in it, but I'm taking away your need to pay for it. Now, it's a slightly difficult decision in a sense, because on the one hand, it would be good to get some projects under the sort of power banner, get some results, add some value. But what's led us down this route partly is the scale of the opportunity that we have. We've identified, a very, very substantial exploration budget, potentially. There are a lot of projects that we can get involved in, a lot of opportunity for us. And I'm very keen not to do very large dilutive raises at the power level. I think hopefully we've been very clear on that. And we think very strongly that Power Arabia, as we're calling it, will make a fantastic standalone IPO. Now, to answer your question directly, we have had very, very significant interest in this. There are a number of counterparties that have said they would like to invest, that they want to invest in, let's just call it Gulf for obviously, term. They want to invest in mining opportunities in the Gulf. But they want their investment to be specifically oriented towards that. So whilst we're not sure you've got very good assets elsewhere in the world, that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for an investment opportunity here in our own region. So that has obviously motivated us to put this structure in place, and it's really resonated with the people we've spoken to. So there are a number of people that we are following up with right now, currently, as almost as we speak, with some presentation material and some documentation to further a pre-IPO round. So, this is currently wholly owned by Power. We're talking about a capital raise which would obviously reduce our shareholding and bring external investors in. I don't really want to at this point get drawn quite into the sort of the quantum, because we haven't really sort of completed those conversations, but we will obviously fill the market in due course. But I can say we're talking about a pretty substantial capital raise here, which will fund the activities that we have got planned. So in other words, when I sign these MOUs, I know that I've got the firepower to be able to undertake the work that we need to do, so that we can add the value that we're expecting to make. And obviously, as we have done elsewhere in the portfolio, our shareholders are still exposed to the upside of those discoveries, but obviously without the need to dilute their own to pay for them. So we will update as we go forward, but those conversations are very live. We have a number of parties who have said that they want to get involved in a major way, and so we're looking to configure exactly how we do that between investors in the region, investors here, and obviously some of our current investors also expressed an interest, and we will report back in due course. So this is going to be, as I say, pre-IPO. It's the first stage, and then we'll look to do a full IPO process following on from that.
And when would you hope to get the IPO away?
Well, it's a bit like a piece of string, isn't it, Mark? I mean, the trouble is, IPOs are time-consuming, they're difficult, they rely on good market conditions and all those sorts of things. However, my sense really is that market conditions are improving daily, I think. I mean, there's a number of deals that we know that are going on at the moment, which are looking really good, which is, not necessarily through us, elsewhere, but also we have 2 deals going on at the moment, which are looking very good. So there is appetite for investment. So I am very confident that we can get this done in a fairly straightforward way. There is, I think, a great interest in the Gulf region as a mining destination. Just anecdotally, I mean, the Future Minerals Forum in January was absolutely packed. I think I said that in a previous chat. It's becoming the go-to investor show or sort of mining investor show, I think, globally. So I'm assuming that it's only going one way in terms of interest. There is very, very significant interest from investors in that region, and obviously, as I said, investors locally as well. So I do think that there's great appetite for our incubator model as an IPO. So we're talking about multiple projects. This is what we do, and I think there are a lot of investors who said, look, we'd like to invest in Saudi Arabia. It's very difficult for us to access it through individual projects. It's very difficult for us to know which are the good ones, which are the bad ones. So this kind of diversified risk portfolio approach is very suitable for us, and we would like to get involved. So it's all part of the process. The MOU with NISA establishes our credibility, gives us an important partner in government to further our objectives. The visits we've made and the contacts we've made, and also through a consultant that we use who is extremely experienced in the region and has made fantastic introductions for us. It's all building very, very nicely, such that this vehicle looks like it's got a fantastic chance of a listing. There are obviously no guarantees, There's no guarantee, I should say, that we can get a pre-IPO done. No guarantee we can get an IPO done. It's important to say that, but the indications are very positive, and I'm certain that it's going to deliver a lot of value to the Power Metal shareholders. It's very clear that the opportunity in the Gulf region for mining is extremely good, and we're very excited to be able to bring this to the market.
Well, you've mentioned there about being a good opportunity to Power Metal shareholders. You mentioned a little bit earlier about the different projects you might be getting involved in. But can I ask if you've got any more detail on that? I know the RNS suggested that once you get the financing complete, you want to complete transactions and really get started on meaningful exploration work. So, I mean, are you able to sort of describe a little bit what opportunities you're looking at here, what you're talking about, or indeed what they could look like? And obviously as well, how big you see this becoming, because I get a feeling you actually see it's going to be quite big.
Yeah, no, very much so. Well, just on the first part, I mean, what are we actually looking for? I think when people think about Saudi Arabia, in terms of mining, they think really, principally about gold, I suppose. That it's very, very well known for its gold assets, but the opportunity is far broader than that. Gold is a part of what we're looking at, but there's also great potential for nickel, copper, lithium, and obviously those crucial elements that we're known for in terms of the transition metals, the critical metals for the energy transition, and there's lots of potential for that across the region. So we'll be looking at those. I mean, look, everybody wants copper at the moment. If we can get hold of some copper assets, I think that would be great. I think there's great opportunities in nickel and lithium, as I mentioned. Gold obviously is part of that too, and we are focused really across the spectrum. So that's, I think, kind of the first point is it's a broad spread of potential commodities. I think in terms of the size, I mean, look, the potential here is massive. I think with any junior miner, if you make a discovery, clearly it can create a tremendous amount of value, just right there. And I think time will tell, really. I mean, it's having just said how huge I think it is, it's important not to get ahead of ourselves in terms of expectations. But when we can talk more about the quantum of what we're hoping to raise or have actually raised,
okay,
that will give people the idea that this is really very substantial. We're talking sort of pretty big numbers here. So I'm looking forward to coming back when we've got more clarity on that and giving people more colour and going forward.
Well, you're definitely setting the scene, so I look forward to seeing the paint and the scene come alive. Just a final question, Sean. I know you completed a transaction in Saudi not so long ago. We talked about it. It's, of course, GSA. It's the waste-to-fuel technology that you were looking at here. I think you took, 75%. How does that fit into this picture?
Okay, just to be clear on that. So GSA is very important in respect to Saudi Arabia, but it's not a Saudi Arabian company. First of all, it's based here in the UK. And it's very important for what we're trying to do in Saudi Arabia in respect to what it can do. In other words, extracting critical metals from industrial residues. And in the context of Saudi Arabia, you're talking in particular about heavy fuel oil ash. So the residue, obviously, from power stations, which are very rich for various critical metals, but lithium being the particularly major one. And there is a big opportunity there. There's also a big opportunity in a lot of mining tailings in Saudi Arabia generally, and the Saudi government is extremely concerned about waste. And obviously Saudi investors are very keen on the opportunity that is presented by waste. But the opportunity that GSA presents is not limited to Saudi Arabia. Anywhere where you find significant quantities of metal-rich fly ash, where you would find, for example, titanium dioxide sluice, where you would find spent catalysts, other types of sort of commodity-rich residues and chemical waste, and also, by the way, where there's an opportunity to extract those critical metals, but then also leave a clean residue, which is obviously a major imperative for the governments in these various places, is very important. So we're looking to build that business globally, really, but it does very substantially help our efforts within Saudi Arabia to gain credibility, to get into partnerships, and obviously with in the eyes of the government and so on, to make us a credible player. But it's important just to get clear at this point that as it currently stands, we're not putting GSA into the Power Arabia structure. I'm sorry, I beg your pardon. I'm just going to turn my phone's ringing. That's it. It's going to exist within the Power Metal Group at the moment. Now, the capital structure going forward, we'll determine at the right time. But part of the reason for doing this is to bring a revenue profile into Power to make us less dependent on the capital markets for our working capital needs. I mean, everybody knows how painful it can be to have to go to the market, on the sort of short term because of the need for, well, as I say, working capital. You don't get to choose your timing, and you certainly don't get to choose the price. And obviously, I want the business to become less dependent on that, and I don't want to dilute shareholders unless it's the right thing to do. In other words, bringing in potentially strategic investors would be one way where I would consider doing it, but I want to avoid as much as I can diluting our shareholders. So that's why bringing a revenue profile into the business is very, very important, and that's what GSA will do. Which is why, obviously, it's very important that it exists within the group more generally, rather than into one specific subsidiary where perhaps a lot of that upside or revenue potential would be lost to Power shareholders. So sorry, that was a bit roundabout. I hope that's clear. But I would like to reassure people that as it currently stands, GSA exists within the wider Power Metal Group, not within Power Arabia. And look, if people want more clarity on that, happy to take direct messages or whatever and speak to people.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Sean Wade, the CEO of Power Metal Resources.
Thanks very much, Mark.
If you enjoyed this interview, then give us a thumbs up, a like or a retweet. Subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitter and hit that notification bell to be the first to know when we release new content. There's loads of great content on our website too, across all our programs at stockboxmedia.com. Thank you for watching.